The first thing I noticed that morning was that my old apartment door was complaining louder than usual. Not opening, not breaking, just complaining. The security system I had built 20 years ago had a strange habit of becoming dramatic whenever it detected something unusual. Most people had advanced artificial intelligence assistants that greeted them with polite voices and helpful suggestions. Mine sounded like an exhausted old man who had spent too many years working customer service. "Warning," the metallic voice announced. "Unknown life forms detected outside your residence. Probability of danger, 42%. Probability that you will ignore my warning, 98%. I looked at the ceiling. "You know, for a machine that has no emotions, you sound incredibly disappointed in me." "Correction. I have no biological emotions. Disappointment is an advanced calculation based on your repeated poor decisions." "That is still disappointment." The machine remained silent for 3 seconds. "Your argument has been noted and rejected." I smiled despite myself. Living alone on the edge of a forgotten human colony had many disadvantages, but at least my house had someone to argue with. I had chosen this quiet corner of the galaxy because I was tired of noise. The central planets were filled with endless advertisements, political broadcasts, and artificial voices trying to convince everyone that their newest technology was essential. The universe had changed dramatically in the last 100 years. Humans were no longer trapped on Earth. We had explored distant systems, met hundreds of alien civilizations, and built cities beneath alien skies. Yet somehow people still argued about parking spaces. That was why I preferred my small home near the edge of the Orion border. My neighbors were mostly retired explorers, farmers using automated machines, and a few strange creatures who claimed they were independent thinkers, but mostly spent their days arguing with their own robots. I was repairing an old navigation core when the door alarm sounded again. This time, the machine did not joke. "Warning. 2 unknown individuals approaching. Life signs detected. Both are young." I froze. Young? There were no children living anywhere near my property. The nearest settlement was 30 kilometers away, and nobody came this far unless they had a reason. I wiped my hands, stood up, and walked toward the door. Through the transparent panel, I saw 2 small figures standing outside beneath the pale morning sky. At first glance, they looked like ordinary human children, but they were not human. Their skin was slightly brighter than normal. Their eyes carried a strange golden reflection, and the most noticeable difference was the elegant length of their ears, extending gracefully from the sides of their heads. They looked almost like humans from an ancient storybook, except their clothing was made from advanced alien material that shifted colors depending on the light. The 2 girls looked exhausted. One of them was holding the other's hand tightly. I opened the door halfway. "Hello," I said carefully. "Can I help you?" The smaller girl looked at me with suspicious eyes. "You are human." I glanced behind myself. Last time I checked, yes. Unless my breakfast was secretly replaced with alien transformation technology. The girl did not laugh. The other one almost did. Almost. Then she quickly returned to a serious expression. "We need somewhere safe." Those words immediately changed everything. I looked around outside. No vehicles, no adults, no security escort, no explanation. Just 2 alien children standing in front of my home. My first thought was that this was a terrible idea. My second thought was that leaving 2 frightened children outside was worse. I stepped aside. "Come inside before someone thinks I'm running a very strange alien child delivery service." The girls exchanged a confused look. "What is a delivery service?" one asked. I sighed. "Never mind. Human humor. It often fails even with humans." They entered slowly. The moment they crossed the doorway, my house scanner activated. Scanning unknown visitors. A blue light passed over them. Then the machine suddenly stopped. A silence filled the room. That was unusual. My security system never stopped talking. "Identification process interrupted," it said. I frowned. "Why?" "Because the probability calculation has become extremely annoying." Machines can become annoyed now? No, but I can confirm that you are asking unnecessary questions. The scanner displayed a series of encrypted symbols. I stepped closer. The information was impossible, not because it was hidden, because it was something I had only seen in historical archives. Royal identification codes. My stomach tightened. The two girls noticed my expression. "You know who we are," one whispered. I looked at them. "No," I replied honestly, "but I have a feeling that I should probably know." For the first time, fear appeared on their faces. They were not afraid of me. They were afraid of what would happen if someone else found them. Outside, far above the planet's atmosphere, massive ships moved silently through space. The Imperial search fleet had arrived. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched emergency broadcasts announcing the same message. The twin princesses of the Aurelian Empire had disappeared. 3 days had passed. No clues had been found. No enemy had claimed responsibility. No one knew where the two heirs were hiding. But the Empire did not know something very important. The missing princesses were not hiding in a secret fortress. They were not trapped on an enemy planet. They were not prisoners. They were sitting in my living room, eating the emergency cookies I had saved for difficult repair days, and arguing about whether my old sofa was a primitive human sleeping device or an ancient torture machine. I watched the two royal children examine my broken furniture like alien scientists discovering a forgotten civilization. "You know," I said, "most people who visit me usually complain about the dust." The princess looked at the cracked sofa. "The dust is acceptable." "Thank you." "The furniture is concerning." I looked at the sofa. "It has survived 3 wars." She nodded seriously. "Then it has suffered enough." For the first time in 3 days, the missing princesses smiled, and for the first time in many years, my quiet little home no longer felt empty. The biggest problem with having 2 alien princesses secretly living in my house was not the danger. It was breakfast. I had repaired damaged starship engines, rebuilt navigation systems after solar storms, and once survived 6 hours inside a malfunctioning escape pod that kept announcing my estimated time of death every 30 minutes. But nothing prepared me for 2 royal children arguing with a kitchen machine. "I do not understand why this device refuses to prepare proper royal nutrition," one of the princesses said while staring at the small cooking robot. The robot rotated its tiny mechanical head. "Correction. I refuse to prepare food that you have described as emotionally disappointing. Food does not have emotions." The princess crossed her arms. "Then why does your soup taste sad?" I covered my face with my hand. It was only the second morning they had been in my home, and somehow they had already started insulting my kitchen equipment. "I want both of you to understand something," I said. "That machine is older than most planets in this sector." The other princess looked at the robot. "That explains why it is slow." The robot immediately responded. "I am not slow. I am experiencing historical elegance." I stared at it. "You made that sentence up." "Yes. At least you admit it." "I have learned that humans become less suspicious when machines occasionally pretend to be honest." I looked at the two girls. "See? Even my appliances are developing manipulation skills." The princesses laughed quietly. It was the first time I had heard them laugh without fear. For a moment, they were not royal heirs, not important figures connected to a massive empire, and not the center of a galaxy-wide search. They were simply 2 children sitting at a small table, arguing with a machine that believed it had personality. But I knew the peaceful moment could not last. The night before, my security system had confirmed what I already suspected. These 2 girls were not ordinary. The encrypted royal symbols had appeared only for a few seconds, but they were enough. I had worked on imperial technology during my years as a spacecraft engineer. I knew the difference between expensive equipment and something designed for the highest levels of government. The clothes they wore were disguised, but underneath the simple fabric was advanced protective material. The bracelets around their wrists were not jewelry. They were emergency communication devices. and their eyes constantly scanned their surroundings like they had been trained to expect danger. They were running from someone. I waited until they finished eating before asking the question. "Who are you really?" The room became quiet. The princesses exchanged a look. For several seconds neither spoke. Then the older-looking one lowered her head. "My name is Lyra." The other followed. "I am Liana." I waited. They waited. I raised an eyebrow. "That is it?" They looked confused. "What else should we say?" "I don't know. Maybe something like, 'Hello, we are two mysterious alien children who appeared at your door and caused your security system to panic.'" Liana looked at Lyra. "He makes jokes when nervous." Lyra nodded. "That seems like an inefficient survival strategy." I pointed at her. "You say that, but you are sitting in a stranger's house eating his food." She thought about that. "That is a fair point." Then she smiled slightly. I laughed. They were strange children, but they were honest. Finally, Lyra spoke. "We cannot return home." The words carried more weight than I expected. "Why?" She looked down at the table. "Because someone inside the palace wants us gone." The air suddenly felt colder. The empire they came from was one of the most powerful civilizations in known space. Its fleets protected dozens of systems. Its technology was centuries ahead of many human colonies, and yet two children had fled from its own capital. "Who is after you?" "We do not know exactly," Liana answered. "But we heard them speaking." She touched the bracelet on her wrist. They were planning something. "What kind of something?" Neither answered immediately. That silence told me enough. A person does not run away from a palace because someone forgot their birthday. I stood and walked toward the window. Outside, my quiet planet looked exactly the same as always. Endless fields, distant mountains, and a sky filled with stars. Somewhere above those stars, thousands of ships were probably searching. I looked back at them. "Does your empire know you are here?" Lyra shook her head. "No." "Good." Both girls looked surprised. "Good?" I nodded. "Because if the entire empire is looking for you, bringing you back immediately might not be the safest option." They stared at me. "You believe us?" The question caught me off guard. I looked at them. Two children with long ears, alien technology, and a secret powerful enough to shake an entire empire. But all I saw were two scared kids who had nowhere else to go. "Yes," I said. "Why?" I shrugged. "Because you have the worst kidnapping strategy I have ever seen." They blinked. "You mean because we came here?" "Exactly. Real kidnappers usually avoid leaving their victims at a stranger's door and asking for help." Liana covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. Even Lyra smiled. The moment was small, but it mattered. They needed someone who did not see them as princesses. They needed someone who saw them as people. However, far away from my small home, the Aurelian Empire was reaching a different conclusion. A massive command center orbiting the imperial capital displayed millions of search results. Planets scanned, cities searched, ships investigated. Nothing. Then a young officer noticed something unusual. A tiny energy signature had appeared near the outer human colonies, only for a few seconds. But it matched the royal identification pattern. The commander stared at the screen. "The princesses are alive." The room erupted. "Where?" The officer hesitated. The answer seemed impossible. "On a human colony." The commander frowned. "A human?" "Yes." "Who is protecting them?" The officer enlarged the image. A simple house appeared. A forgotten settlement. A place nobody important would ever consider searching. The commander stared silently. Then he whispered the question that would soon change everything. "What kind of human makes two missing princesses feel safe enough to sleep?" The first rule of surviving a dangerous situation is to stay calm. The second rule is to never allow a machine with a sarcastic personality to become your main defense system. Unfortunately, I had already failed both rules. Multiple unidentified signals detected approaching the planet, my security system announced. I stopped repairing the old energy converter in my workshop and looked at the ceiling. How many? 3 ships. Military? Unknown. Dangerous? A short pause followed. Your question is incomplete. How? Everything in the universe is potentially dangerous. A small rock can destroy a spacecraft. A child can destroy your kitchen. A human can make questionable decisions. I looked toward the living room where the 2 princesses were sitting. They both looked innocent. That was suspicious. What are you trying to say? I am saying your guests have already caused a 27% increase in household chaos. Liana raised her hand from the other room. I heard that. The machine immediately responded. Good. My message was successful. I sighed. 3 days ago, my biggest problem was repairing broken technology and avoiding conversations with my neighbors. Now I had 2 alien princesses hiding in my house, an empire searching for them, and a security system that seemed happier about the crisis than I was. The universe had a strange sense of humor. I walked into the living room. Lyra and Liana were sitting beside my old navigation computer, studying the holographic display. What are you doing? Lyra looked up. We were analyzing your technology. I looked at the ancient machine. You mean this? Yes. I waited for a compliment. None came. Liana tilted her head. This system is extremely outdated. I placed a hand on my chest. That computer has survived longer than some civilizations. Lyra looked at it again. That explains why it is slow. Why does everyone keep insulting my machines? The kitchen robot rolled past the doorway. Because they are accurate observations. I pointed at it. You are supposed to support me. I support truth. Traitor. The princesses laughed, but their smiles faded when the warning signal sounded again. This time, everyone understood. Someone was coming. Lyra stood immediately. Her expression changed completely. The playful child disappeared, replaced by someone who had been trained for emergencies. They found us. I moved toward the window and activated the external scanner. 3 small spacecraft appeared above the atmosphere. Not Imperial ships, not civilian. Something else. Their designs were intentionally hidden, covered with adaptive camouflage technology. They are trying not to be recognized, I said. Liana looked worried. Those people were part of the palace security network. I turned toward her. You are sure? She nodded. We saw their armor before we escaped. That was worse than I expected. If palace security was involved, then the conspiracy was much deeper than 2 frightened children running away. Someone powerful wanted them gone. I walked toward my storage room and opened the old equipment cabinet. Inside were tools, damaged technology, and a few things I had hoped never to use again. Lyra looked surprised. You have weapons? I shook my head. No. Then what are those? Problems. She looked confused. Problems? I picked up an old device. Every machine has weaknesses. You just have to find them. Liana looked at the device. Is that a weapon? No. Then what does it do? I smiled. It makes enemies regret entering my house. The princesses exchanged a look. That sounds like a weapon. Technically, it is a very rude welcome system. My home had once belonged to a famous engineer who designed exploration ships. After retiring, I had modified the entire structure with emergency technology. Not military technology, but enough to defend against pirates, space creatures, and occasionally my neighbors' terrible attempts at borrowing tools without returning them. The first ship landed outside. The ground shook. The princesses moved closer together. I activated the house defenses. Old machines hidden beneath the ground awakened. Small drones rose from the surrounding fields. Ancient defense systems powered on. The enemy probably expected a weak human living alone. They did not know they had chosen the home of someone who spent 30 years fixing things that were supposed to be impossible to fix. The main door opened. A group of armored soldiers stepped forward. Their leader looked at the house. "This is Imperial Security. We are searching for 2 missing children." I whispered to my security system. "Do not say anything embarrassing. Define embarrassing. Anything you normally say. Your request is unreasonable." The soldier approached the entrance. "Open the door." I looked at Lyra and Liana. They were afraid, but they were not alone anymore. I stepped forward. The door opened. The armored soldiers stared at me. A simple human. No armor, no weapon, no army. The leader almost smiled. "You are hiding something." I looked behind me at 2 princesses who were trying very hard not to be seen. Then I looked back at him. "Probably." The soldier's expression hardened. "What?" I shrugged. "I have lived here for years. I hide many things. Broken machines, old clothes, a terrible cooking robot." The kitchen robot appeared behind me. "I object to being called terrible." The soldier looked confused. I continued. "But you should know something." I stepped outside. "This house is not empty." The soldiers raised their weapons. Above us, the hidden drones moved into position. The enemy looked around. They had come expecting an easy mission. They had not expected a human engineer with outdated technology, 2 royal children, and a house that was far more stubborn than it looked. The soldier aimed his weapon. "You have no idea who you are interfering with." I smiled. "Actually, I think I do." I looked back at the 2 princesses. "And I think you have no idea whose home you walked into." The strange thing about facing armed soldiers from an alien empire was that I expected to feel fear. I expected my hands to shake. I expected my mind to panic. Instead, I found myself wondering why their armor looked so uncomfortable. I had spent years repairing spacecraft. I knew advanced technology when I saw it. Their armor was impressive, made from a rare composite material that could absorb energy impacts and regenerate damaged sections. It was also probably very hot. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. "You are smiling," the enemy commander said. I realized he was right. That is usually what happens when I am trying not to panic. "Are you mocking us?" "No. I am criticizing your armor design." The soldiers looked at each other. The commander lowered his weapon slightly. "My armor design?" "Yes. The shoulder plates are too large. They reduce movement by at least 15%. One soldier immediately looked at his own shoulder. The commander noticed. "Do not listen to him." I pointed at the soldier. "He is listening." The soldier quickly looked away. The security system inside my house made a small sound. Observation. Enemy morale decreased by 4%. I whispered. "Did you just measure their confidence?" "Yes." "Can you measure mine?" A pause. "Yes." "And?" "Your confidence is currently being supported by unreasonable optimism." "That sounds insulting." "It is." I sighed. Even my own technology had no respect for me. The commander stepped forward. "Human, you do not understand the situation. The children you are protecting belong to the Aurelian royal family." "I know." The soldiers became still. The commander's eyes narrowed. "You know?" I nodded. "I found out recently." "Then you understand why you must hand them over." I looked back toward the house. Lyra and Liana stood near the entrance. They were scared, but they were watching me, waiting to see what I would do. I turned back to the soldiers. "No." The commander looked surprised. "No? No. You are refusing an imperial order?" "I am refusing to give 2 frightened children to people they are afraid of." The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon. The soldiers did not expect that answer. They expected a human colony worker to obey. They expected someone who would become nervous when faced with imperial authority. They did not understand humans very well. Humans had a strange habit. When we were afraid, sometimes we became more stubborn. The commander raised his weapon again. "This is your final warning." I looked at the weapon, then at my old house, then at the broken garden robot sitting beside the entrance. "Before we continue, I should warn you about something." The commander waited. "My house has not been updated in 20 years. He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means some systems are unpredictable." A small drone suddenly flew out of the ground. It moved toward the soldiers. The commander prepared for an attack. Instead, the drone scanned him. "Warning, your uniform contains 12 unnecessary decorative pieces." Everyone became silent. I closed my eyes. "Oh no." The drone continued. "Recommendation: remove unnecessary decorations to improve combat efficiency." One soldier turned away, trying not to laugh. The commander looked furious. "Deactivate that machine." I looked at the drone. "Honestly, I have tried." "Failure." "Yes, thank you." The commander gave the signal. The soldiers moved forward. That was when my old house finally woke up. The ground around the settlement opened. Small defense platforms rose from beneath the soil. Energy barriers activated around the building. The soldiers stopped. They had expected an ordinary human home. They found a hidden engineering fortress. Not because I had planned for war, because I was terrible at throwing away old technology. Every broken machine I collected, every abandoned system I repaired, every strange device I thought might be useful someday. Apparently, someday had arrived. Lyra stepped beside me. "You built all of this?" I shook my head. "No." She looked surprised. "Then who did?" I smiled. "Someone who hated wasting useful things." The princess looked at the battlefield around us. "That is your strategy?" "Yes." "To recycle?" "Yes." She stared at me. "That is unusual." "I have been told that before." The enemy soldiers attacked. Energy blasts struck the barrier. The entire house shook. My security system immediately complained. "Warning, exterior damage detected. Can you fix it?" "Yes." "Great. After the attack ends." "Why?" "Because I do not enjoy repairing holes while enemies are creating new ones." "That is fair." I moved toward the control panel. The old technology responded. The defense drones did not fire powerful weapons. Instead, they released hundreds of tiny machines. The soldiers looked confused as the small robots surrounded them. "What are those?" Lyra asked. "Repair drones." "Repair drones?" "Yes." "Why are you attacking with repair drones?" I smiled. "Because everyone expects weapons." The drones attached themselves to the enemy armor. The soldiers panicked. "They are damaging our equipment." "No," I said. "They are improving it." The commander looked at his armor. The unnecessary decorative pieces began falling away. The shoulder plates adjusted. The armor became lighter, more efficient. The soldiers were confused. Their own enemy had upgraded their equipment. The commander stared at me. "Why?" I shrugged. "Because your armor was badly designed." For the first time, the commander looked completely speechless. Even Lyra looked surprised. "You helped them?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because winning a fight does not always mean destroying the other side." The princesses looked at me quietly. They had lived in a world where power decided everything, where armies solved problems, where people were symbols instead of individuals. But here, in a small human home on a forgotten planet, they saw something different. The battle continued. But the enemy no longer looked at me like an easy target. They looked at me like something they did not understand. A human without an army. A human without a title. A human who defended two princesses simply because they needed help. Then the sky above us changed. A massive shadow appeared beyond the clouds. A larger ship had arrived. The soldiers looked upward. The commander lowered his weapon. His expression changed. "That is impossible." I looked at the enormous Imperial vessel approaching. "What?" He stared at the ship. "The Royal Guard has arrived." Lyra became pale. Why would they come here? Nobody answered, because everyone understood the same thing. The next people arriving might not be here to rescue the princesses. They might be here to decide who was allowed to keep them. The arrival of the Royal Guard changed the atmosphere instantly. A few moments earlier, my small house had been surrounded by enemy soldiers who believed they were in control. Now everyone was standing still, staring at the enormous spacecraft descending from the clouds. The vessel was not like the smaller ships that had arrived before. It was massive, elegant, and covered with golden energy patterns that moved across its surface like living rivers of light. The technology was far beyond anything I had ever repaired. And unfortunately, it was also the kind of ship that made my old house look even older. My security system immediately commented, "New spacecraft detected." Yes, I noticed. Estimated value. Impossible. Can you stop calculating things you cannot afford? No. Of course not. The ship landed outside the settlement, creating a wave of dust that covered my entire garden. I looked at my plants. Great. The kitchen robot rolled outside. Observation. Plants have received a natural dust coating. They are dead. Correction. They have experienced a dramatic lifestyle change. I ignored it. A large door opened on the side of the Imperial ship. A group of armored warriors walked out. They moved differently from the previous soldiers. The others had confidence because they had weapons. These warriors had confidence because they did not need them. At the front walked a woman. She looked almost human, but there was one clear difference. Long, elegant ears extended from the sides of her head, revealing her alien heritage. Her golden hair moved slightly in the wind, and her advanced silver armor adjusted itself with every step. Her eyes were calm and sharp, the eyes of someone who had spent years protecting others. Lyra and Liana immediately became silent. The woman stopped. For a moment nobody spoke. Then she looked at the two princesses. "Your Highnesses." The twins moved forward, but they did not run. They looked uncertain. That surprised me. A royal guard had arrived to take them home, yet the children looked more comfortable standing beside a stranger like me. The warrior noticed. Her expression changed slightly. "You are the human." I looked around. There were many humans on the planet, but apparently I was the only one standing beside two missing princesses. "Yes. You protected them." I shrugged. "They needed help." The warrior studied me. "You understand who they are?" "Yes." "And you still protected them?" "Yes." She looked confused. That reaction surprised me. "Is that unusual?" The warrior remained silent for a moment. Then she answered honestly. "Very." I looked at the princesses. "That sounds like a problem." "It is not a problem," Lyra said quietly. The warrior looked at her. "Princess?" Lyra stepped closer to me. "He helped us before knowing who we were." The warrior's eyes narrowed slightly. "You are certain?" Liana nodded. "He gave us food. He repaired our damaged communication device. He protected us when armed soldiers arrived." The warrior looked at the damaged devices around my house. Then she looked at the soldiers who had tried to enter. Finally, she looked at me. "What is your name?" I told her. She repeated it carefully. "I am Commander Soraya of the Royal Protection Division." I nodded. "Nice to meet you." The soldiers behind her looked shocked. One of them whispered. He spoke casually to the commander. Another replied, "Perhaps humans are naturally fearless." I almost laughed. No. Humans were not naturally fearless. We were naturally very good at pretending we knew what we were doing. The truth was, my heart was beating so fast that I was surprised nobody could hear it. Commander Soraya stepped closer. I must ask you some questions. About what? The disappearance of the princesses. I looked at Lyra and Liana. They both became serious. So I explained everything. How they appeared at my door. How they were afraid. How they told me someone inside the palace wanted them gone. Soraya listened carefully. She did not interrupt. When I finished, she looked toward the sky. There is a possibility that the threat came from within the Empire. I assumed that. You assumed? Yes. She looked at me. How? I pointed at the princesses. They were not running away from enemies. They were running away from people they trusted. The commander became quiet. That was the answer she had been searching for. Suddenly a warning appeared on her wrist device. Her expression changed. What happened? I asked. She looked at the holographic display. Someone is attempting to access the Imperial security network. Lyra stepped forward. The same people? Yes. The peaceful moment disappeared. The conspiracy was still alive. The enemy had not stopped. They had simply waited. Soraya immediately activated her armor systems. Princesses, you must return to the ship. Lyra shook her head. No. The commander looked surprised. No? The princess pointed at me. He is involved now. I looked at her. I am? She nodded. You are the only person who protected us without wanting anything. I opened my mouth, then closed it. That was a very difficult argument to defeat. Because it was true. I had not saved them because of politics. I had not protected them because of rewards. I had done it because two scared children were standing outside my door. The commander looked at me. You realize this may become dangerous. I glanced at my old house, at the damaged walls, at the broken garden, at my machines waking up after years of silence. Then I looked at the two princesses. I think my quiet life ended 3 days ago. My security system immediately responded. Correction. Your quiet life ended when you allowed unknown visitors inside. Thank you for your support. You are welcome. I was not supporting you. The princesses laughed. Even Commander Soraya almost smiled. Almost. But then every screen in my house activated. A message appeared. A hidden transmission. A voice filled the room. Commander Soraya. Everyone froze. The voice continued. You failed to retrieve the princesses. Soraya's expression became cold. The voice belonged to someone inside the Imperial Palace. Someone powerful. Someone who knew exactly where we were. Now, the voice said, we will remove the problem ourselves. The transmission ended. The room remained silent. Then my security system spoke. New problem detected. I looked at the ceiling. Please tell me you have a solution. A pause. Yes. I smiled. What is it? Your house can become more annoying. I stared. That is your plan? Yes. I looked at the princesses. They looked at me. For some reason, we all believed the machine. Because apparently, the safest place in the galaxy was not a fortress. It was a small human home with outdated technology and a security system designed by someone who had too much free time. The strangest thing about becoming a target of an interstellar conspiracy was that nobody warned me about the paperwork. I had expected laser battles. I had expected dangerous enemies. I had even expected some kind of dramatic speech from a mysterious villain hiding in a dark room. What I did not expect was Commander Soraya standing in my living room, while 3 different Imperial systems requested confirmation forms from me. This document requires your identity confirmation. I looked at the holographic screen. I already told you my name. Yes. So why do you need another confirmation? Because the first confirmation confirmed your name. And this one? It confirms that you confirmed your name. I stared at her. The commander remained completely serious. I looked at my security system. Is this normal? The machine answered immediately. No. I felt relieved. Finally, something you agree with me on. The normal amount of imperial paperwork is significantly higher. My relief disappeared. Of course. The kitchen robot rolled past us. Suggestion: destroy all paperwork. Everyone looked at it. I pointed. See? Finally, a useful idea. Commander Soraya looked at the robot. Is your machine always like this? Yes. Why? I shrugged. I think it was damaged before I bought it. The robot turned around. Incorrect. I was damaged after you bought me. That is worse. The small moment of humor disappeared when Soraya received another transmission. Her expression changed. The playful warrior disappeared. The commander returned. The palace network has been compromised. Lyra and Liana immediately stood. What does that mean? Soraya looked at them. It means someone inside the Empire has access to restricted systems. And they know we are here, Lyra whispered. Nobody answered, because everyone already knew. The enemy had found us once. They could find us again. I walked toward my old control panel. Then we need to move. Soraya looked surprised. You want to leave? No. She frowned. Then what do you mean? I activated the house systems. I mean, we need to stop thinking like people running away. The walls of my house began changing. Hidden panels opened. Old technology awakened. The simple home I had lived in for years transformed slowly. Not into a weapon, into something else. A place where someone could survive. Lyra watched the walls shift. You built a fortress? I shook my head. No. She looked confused. Then what is this? A home. The answer surprised her. I continued adjusting the systems. A fortress exists to keep enemies out. I looked at the two princesses. A home exists to protect the people inside. For a moment, nobody spoke. Even Soraya looked at me differently. The commander had probably spent her entire life protecting royalty with armies and advanced weapons. But she had never expected a human engineer to protect them with a repaired door, old machines, and stubborn determination. Then the sensors activated. Something was approaching. Not one ship, not 10. A fleet. Soraya checked the display. This is impossible. I looked at the screen. How bad? She was silent. That depends. On what? On whether you consider an entire attack group bad. I looked at the approaching ships. Yes. Then it is very bad. I sighed. Great. The kitchen robot appeared. Would you like me to prepare emergency tea? I looked at it. We are under attack. Yes. Why would we need tea? Humans perform better when consuming warm liquids during stressful events. I thought about it. That is actually true. The robot immediately moved away. I knew my existence had purpose. The enemy fleet entered orbit. Their ships blocked the stars. Thousands of soldiers, advanced weapons, technology far beyond my old equipment. Soraya prepared for battle. The princesses stood beside her. I looked at them. You two should stay behind. Both immediately shook their heads. No. I blinked. You did not even think about it. Lyra crossed her arms. We have spent our entire lives being protected. Liana nodded. But you treated us like normal people. I smiled slightly. That might have been a mistake. The twins smiled. It was not. The first attack began. Energy weapons fired from the enemy ships. The sky turned bright. My defenses activated. The barrier around the house absorbed the impact, but the system immediately complained. Damage increasing. How long can we hold? Estimated survival time. A pause. I hated that pause. How long? Depends. On what? Whether I include your garden? I looked outside. My garden? Yes. Forget the garden. Excellent. Survival probability increased by 2%. The battle continued, but something unexpected happened. The enemy ships were not attacking randomly. They were targeting specific systems, not the house, not the defenses, the princesses. Someone wanted them alive. Someone wanted them captured. Soraya noticed it too. They are not trying to destroy us. No. They are trying to take them. I looked at Lyra and Liana. The two girls stood quietly. They were afraid, but they were no longer helpless. That was the difference. 3 days ago they had been running. Now they were standing beside people who would fight for them. Suddenly, one of my old systems activated. A forgotten communication channel. A message appeared. Not from the enemy. From inside the Imperial Palace. A familiar voice spoke. Commander Soraya. Everyone froze. The commander recognized it immediately. No. The transmission continued. You must stop protecting the princesses. Soraya stepped closer. Who are you? The voice answered. The person who has been protecting the Empire from a future disaster. Lyra looked confused. What does that mean? The voice continued. The princesses cannot become rulers. Silence. Because they are not the future of the Empire. The screen flickered. Then the final message appeared. They are the key to something much older than the Empire itself. The transmission ended. Nobody moved. I looked at Soraya. What was that? The commander stared at the empty screen. I do not know. For the first time since arriving, she sounded afraid. Then my security system spoke. Additional information detected. I turned toward it. What information? The machine displayed an ancient symbol. A symbol even I recognized. A symbol from forgotten human exploration records. A symbol connected to the oldest mysteries of the galaxy. My house had not only become a battlefield, it had become the place where the secrets of the universe had finally returned. The first thing I learned after saving 2 alien princesses from an interstellar conspiracy was that peace was surprisingly noisy. I had imagined that after the battle ended, life would return to normal. I was wrong. Very wrong. My definition of normal had changed permanently. Normal used to mean repairing old machines, drinking coffee alone, and arguing with my kitchen robot about whether burnt food could legally be called a meal. Now normal meant Imperial officers visiting my house every morning, advanced scanners checking my property, and children with long ears accidentally activating ancient alien technology while trying to make breakfast. Your machine is glowing again, Lyra said. I looked toward the kitchen. The old cooking robot was surrounded by floating holograms. That is not supposed to happen. Liana tilted her head. Is it dangerous? I watched the machine create a perfect holographic map of the galaxy. Probably. The kitchen robot turned toward us. Correction, I have improved myself. You improved yourself? Yes. How? I consumed available information. I looked at my computer systems. You downloaded thousands of years of technology? Yes. Why? The robot paused. Because your cooking skills were unacceptable. I stared at it. That is your reason? Yes. The princesses laughed. And somehow hearing them laugh in my home felt more valuable than any reward the Empire could offer. The final battle had revealed the truth behind the conspiracy. The officials who wanted the princesses removed were not simply seeking power. They had discovered an ancient artificial intelligence hidden beneath the imperial capital, a system created by one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They believed they could control it and use its technology to rule every known world. But the ancient system had one requirement. Only members of the royal bloodline could communicate with it. Lyra and Liana were not just heirs to the Empire. They were the only people capable of preventing the ancient technology from being abused. The conspirators feared them because they could not control them. They wanted obedient rulers, not leaders. After the truth was revealed, the empire changed. The corrupt officials were removed. The hidden technology was placed under the protection of scientists from many different worlds. And Commander Soraya became responsible for protecting the princesses. Although she still looked like someone who could defeat an entire army alone, I noticed something different about her. She smiled more. Not often, but sometimes, which, according to the princesses, was a major achievement. She smiled yesterday, Liana whispered to me. I saw. That means she is becoming happier. I nodded. Or maybe she had a strange reaction to my terrible coffee. Soraya, standing nearby, immediately responded. I heard that. I froze. You always hear everything? Yes. That is terrifying. It is useful. Still terrifying. The commander almost smiled. Almost. Months passed. The Empire wanted to reward me. At first they offered wealth. I refused. Then they offered a position in the Imperial Engineering Division. I refused that too. They asked why. The answer was simple. I had spent most of my life fixing machines because I enjoyed it. I did not want a palace, I did not want power, I only wanted to continue building things that helped people. Eventually, the Empire gave me something much more meaningful. They restored my old spacecraft, the one I had abandoned years earlier. When I saw it standing outside my home, repaired with advanced Imperial technology, I could not speak for several seconds. Lyra walked beside me. You like it? I touched the ship's metal surface. I built this with my own hands. And now? I smiled. Now it is better than I ever imagined. The princess looked at me. That is because you finally allowed others to help you. Her words surprised me, because she was right. For years I believed being alone meant being independent. I thought needing others was weakness, but I had been wrong. A person could repair a machine alone. A person could survive alone. But a person could never truly live alone. The universe was too large. The journey was too difficult. Everyone needed someone, even princesses, even commanders, even humans who pretended they did not. One evening, as the sun disappeared behind the mountains, Lyra and Liana sat outside my house watching the stars. The same stars they had once feared. Now they looked peaceful. Do you miss the palace? I asked. Lyra thought for a moment. Yes. I was surprised. You do? She nodded. But I also miss this place. Liana smiled. Your house is strange. Thank you. That was not a compliment. I know. The walls make strange noises. The walls are old. The kitchen robot insults us. He insults everyone. The furniture is uncomfortable. I looked at the sofa. It has history. It has damage. Same thing. They laughed. Then Lyra became quiet. Do you regret helping us? The question stayed in the air. I looked at my small home, the repaired machines, the alien technology, the two princesses who had arrived, frightened and alone. No. She smiled. Even though your life changed completely? Yes. Even though you became famous? Yes. Even though you have imperial responsibilities now? I looked at her. I still have my old problems. Which problems? I pointed toward the kitchen. The robot immediately responded. I heard that. I laughed. My machine still thinks it is smarter than me. The robot rotated. I have evidence. See? The princesses laughed again. Years later, the story of the missing princesses became one of the most famous events in the galaxy. Everyone remembered how two royal heirs disappeared for 3 days and were found sleeping safely in a human's guest room. They remembered the battle. They remembered the conspiracy. They remembered the impossible technology hidden beneath the empire. But most importantly, They remembered something much simpler. A human opened his door. He did not know they were princesses. He did not know they carried the future of an empire. He did not know they were connected to the oldest secrets of the universe. He only knew two frightened children needed help. And sometimes the greatest events in history do not begin with powerful rulers, massive fleets, or legendary warriors. Sometimes they begin with a quiet house on a forgotten planet, a broken machine, a confused human, and two little girls who finally found somewhere they felt safe enough to sleep.